Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Today I'm going to do something that I don't do very often. I'm going to do some pierce work and make a pair of earrings. I'm going to use mixed metals. I'm going to have a copper backing behind it that kind of hangs freely. And I'm going to do some intricate designs cut out with the saw on the piece that hangs in front of the copper out of silver. So we'll see how my sawing skills are today. That's not one of my super big strengths, but we'll give it a shot. And hopefully we'll produce something pretty. I did go ahead and make a couple of bezels I'm going to hang them from posts with some black onyx stones on them. So I went ahead and made those in advance just for time's sake for the video. And if you're interested in seeing how to do just a basic bezel for a stone, I'll put a link right up there for you to a video. Alright, before we get started, I wanted to thank some people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters, and I truly value their support. I have a new one who goes by the name of Lunar Meadow. Thank you for signing up. I appreciate that. I also appreciate the previous patrons. They not only provide me with a financial contribution, but also have created a really nice environment over there. So it's a great community, and I love interacting with them there. So thanks for that. My other group of people are my YouTube subscribers, and we just passed 22,300, I think, which is amazing. Thank you for that. I do really appreciate the kind comments and also the super thanks and the buy me coffees and people who buy my merch and ebooks. All those things really keep my channel going and allow me to continue doing this stuff. So thanks for that. That really helps. All right, well, let's get started on these earrings. So this is one of my design idea sketchbooks that are available on my merch store. The newer ones have some useful charts on the back. This particular one has a gauge to inches to millimeters chart, which I use pretty frequently. The real feature for me on these is the graph matrix in the background there. That helps me to be able to make more symmetrical pictures, as drawing is not my strongest suit. But I really like being able to keep track of all my projects in these, because then I can revisit them later if I need to. Okay. So here's what I have on the slab today. Like I said, I picked out a couple of black onyx little 8mm cabs, and those are going to be up above here with a post on the back, so I'll use some 20 gauge round wire for a post on the back there. And we'll use probably some 18 gauge round to make some rings to hook this to that. But this is going to consist of two pieces. The front piece here being a piece of silver with some cutouts done, and then this back piece being a sheet of copper. I pre-cut some of this stuff for time's sake. This is actually two pieces of 22 gauge silver that should be big enough for that. And I trace this onto a piece of paper so I can glue it on here. And we'll try and do them both at the same time. We'll see how my sawing skills are. I didn't saw for many years because I wasn't terribly good at it. And it really helped once I got a better saw. So now that I have a better saw, I'm getting a little bit better at it. So we'll see if I can do something that looks at least sort of neat and symmetrical. This piece is 18, so I want to thin it out a bit because I don't want the earrings to be super heavy, and they're already going to have quite a bit of metal in them. So we'll probably roll this out to about 22 gauge. So let's start by doing that. That way it'll match this, and we'll just use my rolling mill over here. So let's go over there first. Well, here we are at my messy rolling mill area. I have this, and I have this just loose enough to fit in there, so I'm going to stick it in there and tighten this down just a bit. I'm going to roll it backwards first. Not quite to 19 yet. I think we're going to have to go anneal it. I'll be back. Okay, annealing is where you soften the metal back up. Doing things like we're doing with the rolling mill causes it to get harder and harder the more you work it. And when you're squishing metal through something like that, it's really working it hard. So While we're at it, let me talk about some things I normally do. I use hard silver sheet solder for most things. I use a liquid flux that I dribble on with a dropper bottle. My torch is a Silversmith bottle. It's their acetylene air torch. And it pulls in atmospheric air through these little holes and mixes with the gas and produces a hotter flame than, say, a propane torch, but not as hot as an oxyacetylene where it's pumping oxygen directly into the flame. So we're going to heat this up until it's pretty warm and then let it cool off. Copper always changes color so prettily when you heat it up like this. Let's let that cool off for a while, and then I'll be back and we can roll it some more. Okay, let's run it through a couple more times here. That's pretty close to 22. I'll go one more, just a little bit. Okay. Let's go back and trace those out. I'm going to use a little bit of masking tape to tape that down so I can just scratch a line around it. See that pretty well. I think what I'll do is I'll cut this out and then I'll file it so it's got nice edges, and then we'll just trace it with using the piece of metal as a template. We should get it pretty exact, hopefully. You can use your saw if you want to, but I don't think you probably need to on something like this with all outside curves. Decided to do some earrings in some of my videos this week because I have some shows coming up and earrings are good sellers. And it would be fun to try some different designs. I'm always trying to play catch up with earrings because it always takes a little longer to make two things of the same kind than it does one thing. But they probably are the things that sell the best at shows. Hopefully that looks pretty symmetrical. We'll just go with it. So if you enjoy my content, don't forget to hit the like button on my video. That always really helps my channel. I know when I'm watching someone's channel that I like, sometimes I forget to hit the like button. And I always try to remember that anymore. I do love comments too, so if you got a question or an idea for a video or, you know, whatever, constructive criticism, those things are always welcome. Those also help my channel. This weekend I'll be in Greeley, Colorado at a show downtown. So if you're in the area, come say hi. That's probably close enough. So remember I had those two pieces of 22 gauge silver super glued together, and then I went ahead and super glued down the piece that I had traced off of this, and I colored in the parts that I'm going to cut out. And then rather than center punching to get the hole started where I'm going to drill, I used a little tiny ball burr to just carve a little divot in the spots where I want to drill. That deforms the metal just a little bit less. I don't remember who told me that advice, but it was a good piece of advice. So thank you to whoever told me that. So we'll go over there and we'll drill some start holes, and then we'll start sawing and see whether my sawing skills are up to par today. Okay, I think I need a bit smaller bit for these other holes. Find a smaller bit. Alright, let's see how my sawing abilities are today. Using a 00, which is kind of used a lot. Kind of see where we're at there. So I'm going to separate these and clean them up with maybe a little ball burr or a diamond burr to get the lines a little neater, and then I'll be back. So after I clean these up a little bit, they're not perfect, but once I polish, it'll probably smooth them out even a little bit more. I used a little bit of masking tape to tape them down kind of in the center here, because I need to mark where I'm going to drill the hole in the copper sheet. So right there. So I'll be drilling that. But we also need to make some rings and put some posts on these things here. So I was thinking probably just 18 gauge round, and we'll make kind of a half loop on the bottom of each of these, and then make a jump ring that goes through there and the half loop. So let's do that. Let's find some 18 gauge. There's a piece. I don't think we need a huge loop. Alright, let's see if we can't solder those on. Usually my videos are pretty soldering intensive, not so much this one. Okay, I'm going to cut some little tiny pieces of solder here. Tiny. And I do something called pick soldering a lot. If you're interested in seeing that, I'll put a link up there to a video about it. It's where you pick up a bit of solder on the end of a titanium or tungsten pick, and then it allows you to kind of precisely place where you want it to go. Another way you could do it is to just pre-melt a little bit of solder on the side of the bezel or on the half ring here. It's one of those skills that really kind of pushed me to a different level. Okay. And I think for these rings, I kind of want these maybe to be elongated a little bit. So I'm going to make them slightly bigger than those ones and elongated, I think. Let's Let's see how they look. I also need some of this 20 gauge to put posts on here, so I'll do that in a second. So we'll keep those to the side for now. Let's put posts on the back of these. And I think I'm just gonna stick it in a magnesia block here so that little loop doesn't drop off. And we'll do the same thing on this other one. See if I can do this without this entire block crumbling apart. The easiest way to put a post on, I always thought, was get everything fluxed. Put your wire in the tweezers like this. Let's pick up some solder by heating it like that. Just balls up on the end there. Make sure we got plenty. Let's do that one more time. Alright, and those have become really annealed and soft, so what we'll do is we'll bend them over and twist them after everything's polished, and just twist them until they work hard in themselves again. But let's drill those holes in these things. You probably don't need to watch me drill the holes since I just drilled holes for you. But I'll be right back after I do that. Okay, let's see if we can put these things together. Let's see how they look with just round circles. I think I really like those. I saw something similar online and I thought I'd kind of like make my interpretation of it. So, compliments to whoever first made these similar ones like this. So I'm going to solder them. I'm going to get this other one hooked up and then I'll solder those. I'm going to use a little hard paste solder just to make it easier. The only thing I really need to heat here is that ring. So this should be pretty easy to solder closed. Sometimes the paste is easier just because it kind of sticks to things. I didn't used to use it, but I do find it handy sometimes. Alright, so let's let those pickle and I'll come back and we'll get them all shined up and set those stones. Okay, I went ahead and set one of the stones, and I'll set this other one at the end here. I do this a little differently than some do. I use my chain nose pliers as a bezel pusher, the flat side right here. It might help you to put this into a vise when you're doing this, or some other way to secure it so you get better leverage. Once you have everything pushed down, then I use the rounded outer part as a burnishing tool. I'm just going to wrap that top edge. So the other thing I did was I straightened these out, and then I kind of twisted them to work harden them. And then I'll cut these off. I usually cut these off a little bit longer because some people, I don't want to earlobe shame anybody, but some people have thicker earlobes than others, you know. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Another thing that I do when I'm finishing up posts like this is I take my little wire cutters and gently squeeze about 1 millimeter from the end, and just kind of make a groove around there to catch an ear nut. And I usually use, for stuff like this, it's got some weight to it, I make those little rubber ones that for ear nuts that are a little bit bigger on the backside, so they kind of will hold the front of the earring facing forward better. One thing about copper is it does get scratched pretty easily, so these may, over time, because of the movement here, it may cause them to get scratched up, and you may need to repolish them. But I'm not sure. We'll have to see how they wear, whoever ends up buying these. But I'll get them shined up a little bit better, and I'll get some better pictures. And let me know what you think. You know, I always love to hear input. I think they'll end up being kind of pretty. Okay, well that was kind of the ornate overlay two-tone earrings with some pierce work. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you go. And I would truly love it if you'd go over to my main channel page and check out some of my other content. I've got over 500 videos now, as I've been doing this for about 3.5 years at 3 per week. So that's added up to a lot of content, and I think some of it's actually pretty good. So check it out. There's almost certainly something else interesting or useful over there for you. And I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel. Also, if you're interested, hit the video description down below. There's some important links. There's a link to my Patreon if you want to find out more about that community. There's a link to my ebooks, which are guides to all of the video tutorials in each year for the past couple of years. 2024's has 170 plus pages in it. And each one links to a video, as well as having extra information, pictures, materials lists, difficulty ratings about that particular project. So it's a useful tool to have a whole bunch of projects at your fingertips, and it's a really nice way to support my channel. So I appreciate that in advance if you should do that. You also get a discount if you buy them both. So, and they're ebooks, so you can get them in PDF format or EPUB format. PDF is more widely translatable for most people. So finally, there's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks or some other merch. I find those useful and invaluable for keeping track of my projects. So, all right, well, thanks for coming today. Take care. Happy silversmithing.